Hi, and welcome to a special finished object review episode here at M1 Yarns and the Michigan Makers Podcast. I'm Jamie, your host and the yarn dyer behind m1yarns.com. And if you're new here, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. If you are new here, I do videos whenever I finish a project. Typically, I knit sweaters for the most part. And I love to give a little review so that in case you are interested in knitting the pattern, that you can kind of learn from my mistakes or hear various thoughts that might inspire you on your journey through your project. So today, this is the Laura jacket by Camilla Vad. And what can I say? It is a bulky gauge cardigan that is steeked down the middle after it is knit in the round. And last year I learned to steek, which means to cut open your knitting. And I'm a big fan of it. It is not as scary as it seems. If you're interested in learning, I highly recommend the steek, what is it called? Steek This Coffee Cozy or Steek My Coffee Cozy. I don't know. I'll put it on the screen here and I'll link to it below in the show notes. It's basically a little gauge swatch that you knit in the round and then you steek it open and it's a coffee cozy. And it's the perfect free pattern to teach you all about steeking. And that went so well that I have gone on to steek several cardigans. And this is a sweater that I knit for the purpose of taking and wearing at the New York Sheep and Wool Festival in a few weeks in upstate New York in the little town of Rhinebeck. And this is a pattern I've wanted to make for some time. So let me walk you through my ups and downs. I hand dyed this bulky yarn for another project, but then realized that pattern, while it is a bulky gauge, it is sport weight held double, and there is a fade. So then I realized, no, I've dyed this bulky yarn. I need to put it to use. I thought that this was the perfect pattern for it. The colors I thought were great. This mustard color, which I'll get a little bit closer so you can kind of see. This is DK held doubled, although you really can't even see on the video. That's amazing. This is left over from my warm-up sweater, which you can read about on my Ravelry page linked below. These other shades, this is not undyed. This is like a much darker version of this. Then I've got a light brown. You can barely see it, but there's a dark brown right in there. And then this purple. So I made size 3, which was what was appropriately called for my bust. I kind of range between a 36 and a 39-inch bust. I don't necessarily think I have very small shoulders, but this pattern has made me think that might be the case. I don't know. I might need to kind of study myself a little bit on that. Knitting is so interesting because it really puts you in tune with your body. Because, I mean, everything you're making is custom to fit your body. And I would say, sometimes you hit, sometimes you miss, sometimes it makes you feel, let's say, uncomfortable in your skin at times, self-conscious. Yeah, it's an interesting thing. I think especially since women, for the most part, struggle so much with like body image issues. It is an issue to think about because you really should measure your bust before every pattern to make sure there's no fluctuation. You should get in touch with how long your arms are and all these things. And so, yeah, this pattern, while I made the size 3 for my bust, I got gauge, which is often an issue for me. I'm a loose knitter. I got stitch gauge and I got row gauge. And yet and still, I think that the color work section here falls much lower on me than in the pattern. That's just me. I feel like something is too long in this section and this needs to move up maybe just about an inch. maybe. I don't know. I'm being really critical, but that's me. So I got gauge. The yoke was fun to knit. Um, when I split for the sleeves, I thought I was short on this purple yarn. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to knit the sleeves first, and then I'm going to come back to the body because I can always crop the body, but I knew I definitely wanted long sleeves. So I knit the sleeves, and when I got to the end of the first sleeve, I evaluated how much yarn I had left, and I was like, ooh, this is going to be tight. So I did contrast on the sleeves, which I actually really like that detail. I think it's just something fun. Just, like a little bit of detail. Um, then I finished the second sleeve and realized I really only had about enough yarn to knit like an inch of the body. I don't know how. I calculated my yarn correctly. Like I said, I'm on gauge. There were some weird oddities in the pattern. There are definitely some mistakes in the pattern. So I don't recommend it for a beginner. I recommend it for someone who is experienced in reading a pattern, checking the math, and making sure that they are confident in the instructions provided. So that being said, once I got to like here, I needed to dye more yarn. So luckily I had a couple skeins of the undyed left over from the package of yarn that I bought to dye the yarn. And I dyed 2 more skeins, and you can't even see a line. So what's really funny is that when I dyed this purple, I didn't write down the recipe for the color, and shame on me. That was a really poor choice, and I'm going to be more intentional about writing a recipe down, whether or not I intend on repeating it. But I did really good, and I got it spot on, and I had more yarn, and steeking went well. I got these cute buttons at my local fabric store, which if you're in Metro Detroit, Michigan, Haberman's in Clawson is where I went. And then I also got this ribbon, which in hindsight, I recommend actually you get a ribbon that's as close to your main color as possible, because there was one spot where I had to kind of fudge the fabric so that this wouldn't show through. But I wanted to cover my steek edge. And on this side, I had sewed on a ribbon. Let me give you a little close up without my face in it. I had sewed in the ribbon to cover this like steeked edge, and I couldn't get my fabric to lay like correctly, even though I blocked it. It just wasn't working, and I was like, you know what? Forget it. So I took the ribbon off, and I'm much happier. I think on this side, you can almost kind of, well, I can feel it. You can almost see that there's like a ridge of where the ribbon like almost created a lump. And so I can't say I'm 100% satisfied with that. I also feel like the pattern sample did not look so open on the collar on her. And I don't love how open it is on me. But again, maybe I'm being super critical, and maybe I'm just having like a bad day looking at myself in clothes. Do you know what I mean? Like, do you have those days? We all have those days. The pattern itself is really good. I mean, I don't see myself like feeling that this is my best project ever. But again, maybe I'm being really critical. I do see that this would be great in the winter as a cozy. Don't you love when you weave in your ends and then you don't snip the the tail all the way? I gotta fix that. Um, this will be cozy, and I live in Michigan, so our winters can be pretty harsh and cold. And I think I'll enjoy wearing this, especially since I work from home. And yeah, I mean, I think it's a beautiful pattern. Would I knit it again? Maybe, maybe not. I might be more cognizant of things like a tighter collar and a higher color work. But I think that's me being to the point where like I want everything perfect. But the benefit is that you can get that in your knitting because we're all, like knitting mostly for ourselves. And this is something that you can try on as you go. I did try it on, and I will say I probably didn't listen to my gut. At this point, when I tried it on probably around here, I should have ripped back to here and started the color work. So I think the bottom line with this and anything else is trust your gut. And if you don't have that experience yet in your knitting repertoire to trust your gut, maybe reach out to a friend or a yarn shop and ask their opinion. We're all in it together, which is why I do these videos, so that I can kind of walk you through what I loved, what I didn't love, and what I would do if I were to do it all over again. So, that being said, I will be wearing this at the New York Sheep and Wool Festival in Rhinebeck, New York in a few weeks. And if you're going, I hope to see you there. If you see me in this, please stop me and say hi and show me what you're wearing. I hope that your knitting is going well. And until next time, happy knitting. Bye.